watching his compacted sole last time, and I wasn't able to get it all in between that, and now it looks like he fluffed a lot on his own, but we're going to get the leftover that he has still on his toe here. I'll trim down his bars a bit.
Let me show what that looks like with all the sole missing. And
so this got nice and smooth, and then this part ridged.
And why? Tell him why it ridged again.
This is still sole that's compacted that he's fluffing off. You can see even the dirt got underneath it a little bit. So we'll just cut all of this off.
Okay.
Yay! Progress. He's got low ankles and long toes, so we've kind of been waiting for this step to happen, so he'll start changing his angle a little bit higher than he was before. Right there. That's all the old stuff.
Yep.
New sole. Yay! This is all bar that grew up and folded over that we need to take off too. Then he doesn't have very good frog connection. It's not connected at all. There's a lot of pocketed areas where we could get frog disease that we want to clean up and take out.
That hay is only 2 feet away.
But he's not leaving for a snack. Good boy. Alright, so clean that up a bit and we can take more off this toe. So part of this discoloration he has here is the laminitis that was healing up here that he had, which created this sort of long toe, low angle to it, but also he had a little bit of added toe pressure from all that compacted sole. So clean that up. Look at those nail holes are starting to disappear that we had that were actually into his
lamina.
Yeah, last time his white line. So got quite a bit off of his feet, and this is the third trim. So boy. had a little bit of a smell to his foot, but that was from all of that sole being underneath that last bit. So and it's a little flaky right there because of that too. That will harden up and clean up quite a bit on its own. So, give him a little bit of a break here. Okay. We haven't finished trimming, but I wanted to note that we have the deviated toe angle, the new angle he's putting on, how tall that is, and then the deviation going down.
Oh yeah.
Much lower angle. You can see it a lot better on the other hoof, simply because the other hoof has a much lower angle. Notice that it increases drastically as this hoof grows out, but how tall it is up here, and how the angle changes.
Yeah, you can see it really good here.
Yeah. Yep. So it's going to look really funny the lower we get down in the hoof, where we have this nice deep angle and then this toe sticking out on the end. But that means that he's going to have an awfully nice foot coming in up here. Now we're putting the Mustang roll on, and then some final touches of this front foot. I'm so excited. I'm getting all my... Alright. Looking a lot better. So, I will finish the smoothing out the roll. It's kind of nice to see how thick and tight this water line is. And then you can see the white line, though it's just colored, how that's starting to tighten up quite a bit too. So yeah, this is going to look...
It doesn't look that great on the camera, but you can see.
He's so good about letting me just put him in any awkward angle I so desire. I'm just standing.
Yeah.
How look, bud? Good. It's a lot better than when you called me.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about the fact that this guy was, amongst other things, lamnitic when you got him, and probably not on a, super lush pasture or anything. Probably just on whatever hay and grain and whatever he was getting.
Yep, he was underweight too.
And then the lack of circulation from the shoe contributed. But wow. I cannot wait till this comes down. Beautiful boy. There it is. Alright, so same deal. On this front, this huge ridge piece here, and the nice new sole that he's got underneath. So we'll just take that off.
Hi, sweet boy.
It's going to feel so much better. Yeah, his breakover is going to feel a lot better. Going to have this giant toe to go over all the time.
And no pressure under there.
Right.
I think if bars are uncomfortable, I can't imagine what that toe ridge felt like.
I think it's mostly the toe. I mean, he's got such a long toe sticking out here. The funny thing is, after last trim, well, I knew he's long, it didn't feel nearly as bad. And that's because we had all that extra sole still sitting there.
Hi, sweetie. What's she doing, pretty boy? So pretty. Cutest little horse ever. Back to the foot.
So go to town with my knife on this. Alright, bud, we're going to make you uncomfortable for a minute. I know.
He's okay. I gotta put my head down green that Connor just threw up.
Thank you, Connor. There we go. I have a little bit of concern about his frogs. When I was talking about the connection earlier. It's not great.
Oh, yeah.
See, and there's junk up in here. I could probably shove that all the way down in there. He wouldn't appreciate me if I did that.
Right.
And then here, that goes all the way down and open there. So.
Wow. Show that again. I don't think I got it.
It's just the connection to the side of the frog to the hoof. And then up in here, how.
I'll go get some tea trees for you too when you're done. Oh.
We'll have to see how much you may have to do with that as that goes on. So this side, this is why we have the lower angle, was affected more. The white line on this one is as wide as my finger.
I see it. Oh my God, you can't see that on the camera.
So it's super
really
stretched.
Well, there you can.
And had this been ignored longer, that would have started to create a lamellar wedge a little bit. So while the nail holes here are growing out, there's still a little bit of the discoloration. They're out there now. While those are growing out, this area is healing, which is great, but that's really thick. So this is why his angle is lower. He's got more space from the apex to the tip of his toe. But when we put his foot down and saw that angle change, he's doing the exact same angle change as he is on the other side, so that's great. This will just be, I'm guessing he grows pretty fast, somewhere around 7-8 months, and he'll have a whole new foot. Alright, if you can show from the top too, a little bit of why that is happening. You can see the frog kind of folded over this way before it's crushed against this heel and not touching this heel at all. So we're going to try to correct that over time too.
Okay. Showed up good.
I'm going to do a roll. Now we're just putting a thing roll on this one.
Boy.
Now this foot actually would have been hard to shoe, and I'm glad that he doesn't have them anymore because he can now finally correct what damage they've created. But he's got, as I was saying, that crush where this heel is built and this heel is pushed out. That frog went this way. The actual hoof itself is twisted inward. So the heel is outward and the toe is inward. And that would, with those nail holes having to go in like that, just to keep that shoe on there, which then, of course, creates more problems.
He would have been torquing on every one of those nails all the time then.
And he's going to have a chance to correct this and then do some beautiful things with his natural bare foot as is. Exciting, man. You get to be comfortable again. Okay, so, thank you. Oh, very good. Perfect. my favorite thing has been cross-country riding, and I get to start doing some of that with my horse this summer. And I'm really excited because
Vanna's good.
Because she's been barefoot pretty much her whole life. She was a founder horse, and I said, oh, she's never going to have feet, and you have to put shoes on her, and I started National Hoofcare, and she's got amazing feet, and we're going to be able to do cross-country on some pretty rough courses, and last couple times I did that with my horses, they were, not her, but other horses, they were shod, and several times they spilled out or slipped out, and I've gotten crushed a couple times. I have a neck injury from it, and simply because they just slide around on the shoes they had, and I'm really excited to get that extra traction from her beautiful bare feet she has.
Wow, awesome.
She's got these beautiful, wide, thick, healthy frogs that are going to help keep that traction the way it should be.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a beautiful foot like that too. Just needs a little bit more time.
Yay.
So these hinds, you can see, didn't have nearly as much of that toe ridging as he has on the front here. He had gotten rid of all that. They tend to do everything with the hinds first and then the fronts, unless it's damage, then the fronts first because they're weight bearing more on them. But if they're going to make a change, they make a change usually with the hinds first and then the fronts. So he started fluffing his soles back here sooner and more readily than he did on the front, so they actually look a lot better than the fronts did. He also tends, and I don't know if it's because of the scarring on the other foot or not, but he tends to go a little bit imbalanced between trims.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's, the vet report that came back when Mary had him vetted for that scar injury and so forth showed great imbalance back there, so.
He likes to go quite high on the inside, on the medial side here. Hopefully, he really doesn't have a lot of difference, so hopefully we won't get super behind on this lateral growth as we trim. But as you can see, I trimmed the high side first, and I haven't really touched the lateral side of his foot because I want to make sure that I don't trim this and then have to over-trim this side to balance him or leave him unbalanced. So I'll do that and then come back to this outside and balance it out. Oh, there, buddy. Oh. There's the left of that. Toe, that sole that's coming out. This frog is actually pretty nice, but as you can see, he's got a kind of a deep central sulcus in here, but it's getting a lot tougher, and it's kind of healing up a bit.
Good.
Which is partly to do with the winter, but if you can
you just spray it.
Yeah, do a thing before spring hits. He'll be nice and healthy. That'll be fun to watch that change too. As you can see here, the water line has a little, or the water line has a little piecey here. It's actually the white part, and then it gets a little thicker at the toe. Same thing with the actual water line, where it was separated and it comes together, but then it's stretched. Again, pretty thick up here, and then thinning out back this way too. So, okay, go ahead. So we put the Mustang roll on this foot. Interesting part is when we did that, there's a little from the side, there's a little mark there from the old nail hole. So that is completely out on the edge. But we did have to leave a little bit of growth on this side to balance that back out. But it is balanced. And we will leave it there and see what he gives us next time.
Now, do you balance a different way than a conventional farrier would balance a foot?
Well, it depends
don't they really look at that?
on their training and what they look at. I balance with a solar plane, so I'm looking, when I look at this hoof, I'm looking at the bottom, at the sole, the apex of the frog being the deepest part, and is the sole balanced evenly here to here, and then is my toe and heels balanced from there. So I would look at that solar plane and I would put these, is that even with my solar plane? So that's about where we're at. If I were to trim this side, it's going to make this side even higher, which is what he's doing already, is he's building up this side so much. And then he's dropped so much on this outside, and that's because the trim probably has been to flatten that out the other way, go by the growth of his hoof or by his heels. His heels are a little bit imbalanced too.
Okay.
So this side really, it doesn't imbalance, but he's got a lot less growth on the inside than on the outside. On the medial side, this is all the lateral side. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side and just trim the one, and then we'll take a look at this other side. Oh, good. So we've got a little bit of growth we can take.
Is Will in the car?
Yeah. He was like, oh, good, you're done. Wait, you're not done? So this discoloration in the frog is not, that's actually pigment discoloration, this big spot here. There's a stripe that comes down his foot and into his frog. A lot of people get worried about that when they're looking for frog disease. Is that infection? Is that an issue? This particular horse, no. His frogs are pretty, actually, a really good case study. And she said, yeah, let's take our time. We'll just do a little bit at a time. So I was like, But she also told me on the phone that he was a draft cross. And I got there and realized he's crossed with another draft. So he's huge. And I was like, oh. But with her, taking on that one came all of the other horses. So I was like, all right, well, I can do one draft horse. And then the next weekend I went to the farm where my horse is at, and they were like, in general, with discounting this distortion of the hoofs because of the scarring he's got on his pastern, his hind hooves are actually quite nice. And you'll notice when I put them down, they're not changing angle, and they shouldn't be. That's a pretty good angle for him. It's pretty good length. His nail hole is still growing out here, but it's not doing any damage. His grain line is nice and tight, and it's pretty even, but there's a little bit of a dip here, so the grain line goes and bends a little, and it's opposite on the other side where he's got the hairline that comes up a little bit. So that's just from the scarring up here.
Okay. All done?
Yeah.
All right.
Yay!
Hey, gorgeous. She says, I'm learning.
No, what's going on?
You've got a pretty shine on your winter coat.
You are shiny. Yeah, he is good looking. Your horses always are.
Thank you.
I went to a